This is Live Speak, and I'm Justin the Geek. I'll be taking your calls, answering your questions if I can, filling your head full of nonsense and acting like a fool. Here we go. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to Live Speak. I am Justin the Geek. I am happy and privileged to have Chet Davis on the show. He is an iPhone master. He has a course on Udemy called iPhone Photography Secrets. It's a fantastic course. How are you doing today, Chet?
Fantastic, Justin. Thank you.
Good. So you're down in San Francisco right now, right?
We are actually in Marin County, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. So
wow, I bet that's beautiful.
I am looking out the window. We got the blossoms going on and the sunshine, but I shouldn't say that for the four folks that are dealing with snow today.
And there are quite a bit of them out there right now. So you probably just made half our audience mad.
Well, they can come on out and let's do some photography together.
There you go. Head over to San Francisco. Chet will give you a tour.
That's right.
He doesn't charge much, I promise. So, Chet, what do you do for a living?
Well, first of all, I missed the opportunity to say thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your program. It's great to connect with you and your community here, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
I think for most, if not all, my adult life, I consider myself a teacher. And I actually spent 17 years as a professional educator in the high school classroom. I taught video technologies. And then worked my way to a situation where I got involved in sales and marketing with a video editing program and loved that. And about 4 years ago, the company changed, and I found myself looking for an opportunity. And so many people said, gosh, you're such a good teacher, and you seem to enjoy it, and people really need help learning video and photo and all kinds of technology. And so I launched my own membership website for a niche product called the Casablanca, which is a video editor made in Germany. And that's been going about 4 years now. And in the last year, some of my loyal customers there said, hey, Chet, I've got an iPhone and I've got a computer, and I'd love, why don't you branch out and teach me how to use that too? And yeah, it's really interesting. I said, I love teaching. And, kind of like you, in a different vein, I'm a geek too. And, and I love what I do. So it branched out, and I got involved with, I've been doing digital imaging for a long time, what I call digital storytelling. Mm-hmm. It's like using video and stills to capture the mood, to capture a storyline and share that with other people, with their family or friends or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I just, so many people are really into that. And we're going to talk about here in terms of the iPhone. And I stumbled upon Udemy about, I'm trying to remember, maybe middle of last year. And I just said, this is really cool, because I thought the things that I liked about the platform are, the people can come 24/7. I really like that the platform encourages us instructors to modularize the instructions, so it's available in kind of in snippets and in digestible chunks.
Yeah.
Because having been a teacher for a long time, I saw a lot of kind of programs and platforms and stuff where it just bore people to death, and they'd have to sit through, hours and hours and hours just to get the nugget that they're hoping for. And so
yeah.
I love the coursework there where you can just say, hey, I want to learn a little bit about this. Let me pop into this guy's, classroom and check this out. I want to pop into this woman's classroom over here and check this out and learn that and come back and review it. So I just said, dang, this is the cat's meow. Mm-hmm. And I did a short course on Pandora Internet Radio, and that's still available for free.
Okay.
And it's just because I kind of get my feet wet, it's something I like. And I thought other people would find that pretty cool. And that's been pretty well received. And I said, I'm gonna really jump into this iPhone photography, and so launched that in October of this last year. And so, long story short, really, I am my full-time profession is a professional, a technology teacher.
Oh wow, that's good. I mean, we kind of have that same thing in common there. The technology teacher. I'm not so much a teacher, but I do love technology, and I am a geek.
That's right. That's right.
So you found it in October. That's pretty neat. I mean, I found it probably, oh man, November. Yeah, late November. I'd say I found Udemy.
Okay. Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, you have your course. I noticed has over 500 students. Mine has 45 as of yesterday morning. But mine is one of those that you don't take until you need it. It seems, how to speed up your computer and fix it. People don't realize you need to actually do that stuff before it breaks.
That's the hard part. It's like archiving photos and video. It's one of those things you'd be smarter to know about it before you need it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about your popular course. Let's call it. I'm not going to call it your first course because your first was a Pandora. So it's called the iPhone Photography Secrets. Can you tell us? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but can you kind of tell us what it's about and what you teach in the class?
Yeah, sure. What I thought is there are so many people with smartphones, and in particular, I happen to choose the iPhone platform. And I think there's so many people with a device out there, particularly in North America, that who have it but don't really know how to use it much, And there's this whole movement afoot. There's different blogs and different people out there, kind of in what I call the space of iPhone photography. Some have even given it the nickname iPhoneography. A little contraction there. And I think it's because there's a term some folks say. It's the camera that's always with you. And what's interesting, I think, as just as a person who really appreciates visually and sees visually, and I think a lot of us do when we're younger and we just kind of get away from it. And I part of what I'm working, and it's in the course, is to help people kind of uncover the creative side, and without getting too highbrow, and really into long lectures and discussions and stuff, but really to kind of help them open up and say, go take a look outside. Step outside right now and look. And I don't mean just peek. I mean really look at what's around you. In your case, look in the face of your brand new nephew. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Or look at the flower blooming just outside your back door. Look at the puddle of rain in the driveway. There's amazingly beautiful things that we all can capture, but a lot of times I think they're either less aware of those creative concerns, let alone the technical, the how do I get this to happen on my phone, but also it's getting them into a comfort zone. Yeah. I think if I don't know if you experience this too, but I think more people I meet nowadays that have it's amazing the amount of access to technology that every one of us has. Particularly in the Canada and U.S., let alone other countries.
Oh yeah.
But I think a lot of people are afraid. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've got I don't know how many. I've got 72 apps in here, but I've opened 2 or 3 of them. I've answered my phone and I answer email maybe. But there's such an amazing world right there. And so really that's what the course is all about, Justin. It's to help them feel comfortable enough that they can start making beautiful, gorgeous photos with their iPhone.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that they're capable of doing that, like you said. I feel that same way with my courses. A lot of people are so terrified of computers and computer repair, and my course walks them through it. You can just follow right along, and before you're done, I've had a lot of people say, I never thought I could do this, but now I can fix my own computer.
That's awesome.
And it's the same thing with the iPhone photography. I think you have this iPhone, the app world is ridiculous. Yeah. That's the new program. That's a new software. People aren't writing software programs anymore. They're making apps.
That's right.
And there's just so many, like you said, you have to just dive in and mess with them. A majority of them are free. You just have to mess with them. And the thing I like about your course is you explain some of those and what they do, and people can choose, do I like it or not? You're not necessarily saying use this app and only this app, are you?
Not at all. Not at all. I really, and at last I haven't actually, I meant to count last night before, preparing for the show, but my last count was more than 7,000 photo and video apps in the iTunes store, which is just, you go crazy. And I had a student ask me in the class, recently, so, any other apps you've tried out? And I'm continually trying out, but it's almost like, hey, you know how many apps there are, and that's what I try to do. I really try to stay on top of it, Justin, to figure out, what makes the most sense. And there's going to be some that I don't even know about just because of the breadth of that marketplace there. What's really cool is I had another student say, hey, have you tried this app, the KitCam app? I heard that's really good, and I like it. I'd love for you to do a lesson on it. Well, just this last Monday, I did another 30-minute, a brand new 2 lessons on that because I just found it fabulous as well. So
Oh, wow.
it's that's the nature of it too, is I believe it, and it's more work for me, but I really dig it because I'm continually learning and developing my craft in iPhone photography, and so I'm open to input from others and always finding something different and new. So it really has to be a dynamic course. It's not like a textbook that could have been written last year and then it sits on the shelf till it's revised 5 years from now. Like you said, with apps developing so rapidly, I've got to stay on top of that to make sure the learners in the class, kind of have a leg up as well.
Yeah, isn't that great too that you get to constantly learn something new?
Oh, I love it.
That's what I love about computers and technology.
Yeah, you're spot on, and I so appreciate, teachers like yourself that I've found as well in the Udemy community that are eager to always learn as well. You've got to, and that's one thing. It sounds kind of hokey, but I really see teaching as it's kind of synergistic. It's almost an energy exchange. And I'm in California, so we're kind of frou-frou that way. But it's, but it really is. I love teaching, but I always get something back from the learners. They say, "Hey, I tried this," or they share a photo with me. Hey, what do you think? And I go, "That's cool." There's this cycle that goes on. So that's
great.
It's a blast.
That is nice. I am personally tend to learn better by teaching. I don't know if you're the same way, but
very much so.
It kind of reimplants the knowledge in my brain in a different way than how I learned it originally.
That's right.
Which is really great.
I think if you, like you said, if you're an instructor, if you're a teacher who's what's the right word? I guess you really care about the outcome, with your learners. You're not just doing it to pass the time, but I mean, you really are invested in making sure this is an awesome learning experience. I think some of the prep work that you do, we'll talk about it later, but I'm just ready to launch a brand new course called Mastering Your iPhone, and that one and the one on iPhone photography. I mean, because I've used some of these apps a bunch of times, but I go, I really want to make sure I know every nook and cranny, because I might have not known one of the settings or one of the buttons in there. So I do a pretty substantial amount of research on every app that I do and the features and functions to make sure that the learners are getting, the best experience.
Oh, strange. That's good. So I have a question. I'm curious about your courses. I mean, we've kind of gone over it, but what made you really decide to do the iPhone course? I mean, there's probably other apps and other things you can do with an iPhone. What made you decide to do photography?
I think it's interesting because for a while I've been thinking, probably the last couple of years, I've been thinking a couple of DVD series of instruction for, like on the Pages application, which is the word processing application for Apple, or on Keynote, which is the PowerPoint version of Mac, or, how to use your iPhone, all that kind of stuff. But I think I fell back on my love of digital imaging, and I was having so much fun.
It seems like we've lost Chet. We'll be right back. I'm going to go to a commercial here real quick, and we'll try and get Chet back on the line.
Getting an amazing education is inexpensive. Luckily, we have the internet, but it is so hard to find courses that are high quality, cheap, and easily accessible. Not anymore, thanks to Udemy. Udemy is the online academy for you. At Udemy, you can find hundreds of great courses from world-class instructors. You can learn stuff like how to create awesome demo videos cheaply, how to program in Python, Ruby, or HTML, how to start your own company, even how to wiggle your feet to the rhythm of salsa. But what if you want to teach others what you know? No problem. Udemy makes it super easy to create your own course in a few steps. Just create an account for free, give your course a name, upload all your content in any format, video, audio, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, publish it, and voila! It's now accessible to anyone, at any time, all over the world. You can even set a price for your course so you can make some money. Learn anything, teach anything at Udemy, the Academy of You.
Sorry about that, everybody. It looks like we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I have Chet back on the line. I'm not really sure how much of that you heard and how much you didn't hear. So we were talking about what made Chet decide to make an iPhone photography course amongst the many million other things you can do with an iPhone. Do you want to sum that up again real quick for us, Chet?
Yeah. I think it was because I was having so much fun, making photos on my iPhone and sharing it with folks in my community via Facebook, et cetera, that they just said, God, I can't believe you can do that with an iPhone. And I said, well, heck, there's other people who are eager to do this too, so why not make a course?
Yeah, that's great. I love the course. I've taken it, and I have the iPhone. It's actually my work phone, and the only thing I use it for out of work is photography, because it's there. It's an HD camera with me all the time.
That's right.
I don't have any other cameras. I have a manual film camera, but I'm not going to carry that around with me. When I was at the hospital, you just pull the camera out, bam. I have my phone just takes a great picture and some video too. But I'm learning through your course the things I can do with the pictures after I take them.
Great.
Which is really, really great.
It is. Well, and I think that I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I think what's really interesting, and it's almost like it's time to put on my my smoking jacket and my pipe and sit in the velour chair next to the fireplace. But it's almost like a PBS program. You'd have to, in terms of sociology, the amount of images that are now captured relative to like when I was growing up. I've got a nice little binder of like Polaroids that my mom and dad took and stuff. They're treasured, but now, I mean, like you said, your nephew, my gosh, he's 10 days old or 6 days old, and how many photos already of not only photos that have been captured of him, but have been shared with his extended family and beyond is amazing,
Oh, absolutely.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
And so there's that in terms of documenting those precious memories that we have, that we're creating in our lives and the lives of our family members. But it's also the ability to share them with other people, to give them the opportunity to draw a little bit closer, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that one. So do you recommend an iPhone over, say, an Android smartphone or a Windows phone for photography, or did you just choose the iPhone?
That's a really good question. I'm going to give you a longer than a shorter answer on that.
No, that's fine.
I use all kinds of technology here. I mean, I like you said, I'm a geek. I mean, when I was in college, and my degree is in radio, TV, broadcasting, but I used to draw the schematic diagram for the inside of an audio mixer. That's how much of a sick geek I was, and it was fun, But I think it's I've really fallen in love with the end user experience in Apple products, and even though I have a Windows laptop here that I enjoy, that I work with, that does a lot of work with me and for me, but I just continue to fall back on what I think is just a very gratifying experience for the end user with a lot of Apple products, including the iPhone. I've checked out some of the other tools out there, honestly, not to a great degree, for two reasons. Is one, because I'm invested as well in terms of the user experience with Apple. I've got a laptop, I've got a desktop, we now have an iPad as well. So there's a much more easier crossover between devices if you're all on one platform.
Yeah, I agree.
But really, what I think it falls back down to, and somebody says, "Well, you're an Apple purist, you're a fanboy." Well, to a degree, I am, but I'm not saying it's for everybody. If you've got a lot of Windows technology and you love it and you need it for either there's specific applications that you run that that are only available on Windows, and you're just in love with the user interface and the experience that you get there, and it works great for you, then, you might look at a device that's more compatible there.
Yeah.
But, but that being said, you can use, and Apple's been very smart. I mean, that's one thing, kind of like Google, they want to take over the world someday. But one thing that I think that's really intelligent is how they approach the whole iPod and then the iPhone experience, where on the latter versions now, you don't even have to launch the phone through iTunes that you did on some of the earlier incarnations. So you can do it all on Wi-Fi. And so there's no longer the need to have to connect to a computer, which was smart because then folks who have a Windows experience elsewhere in their life can use an iPhone very successfully also.
Absolutely. Yeah, see, I'm a big PC guy. That's what I've done. All my training, my certifications have all been on PC. However, I still love the end user experience with Apple. Just like you said, I have this iPhone. My boss is an Apple purist. She is 100% Apple. My cousin Sliv, who's in the chat, is an Apple purist. It's a fantastic technology, and it is done so well that being a PC guy, the more I work with it, I'm being swayed over to the dark side. I worked in go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say I worked at a school district, and it was 80% Macintosh, and I didn't know Macintosh, but when I worked at a different school district that was mainly PC based, I had a different problem every day. With the Apple school district, it was all self-sustaining, which was incredible and unbelievable.
That's right. And I know there's pluses and minuses. So if someone's listening, this is not a tirade for me to convince you to move over to the iPhone. It's just for me, I find it a very enjoyable experience, and that's why I continue to work with it. Now, if I can jump back to a question you asked a moment ago, Justin, about I came across a really interesting article, and I see these from time to time. They kind of get updated depending on new devices that are out there. And just saw one. It was dated the 18th of this month on Gizmodo. Technoblog, and they did an article called "The Best Smartphone Camera," and they did the Samsung Galaxy S3, the iPhone 5, HTC. I'm trying to remember the specific models, but I thought it was very objective, and they did a good job. And they're saying, one of the things that they like best, I mean, they kind of broke it down by different, in terms of how well does it handle with light in low light? How well does it handle in terms of just portraits? How well does it handle with the flash, etc.? Wow. And they did it. I think iPhone came in second on that one. Really? And you know what? I'll have to pop up while we're chatting here and see who was first place. But I believe it was one of BlackBerry's new mobile devices, which is,
wow.
I was surprised too. But that the hardware thing is going to continually change, as you and I both know. I mean, every 3 months or 6 months, Company X is going to come out with a new model that's got more megapixels or more filters or more whatever than brand X. So, for me, when friends ask me, hey, what do you like? I say, I love the iPhone, and here's why. But I mean, it really is a personal decision. It needs to jive with whatever else you're doing in your life too, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I kind of relate that to when I used to work for a retail store, Best Buy here in the U.S. We weren't commission based, so I didn't have to push anything on anybody. So it was mainly, what do you need it for? And, will it work best for you? I'm not going to tell you buy this because I'm going to make money off of it. And that's sort of the same thing with people with iPhones. It seems like a lot of people that are Apple purists you need to get an iPhone and I don't care what you think. And to a point, they're right on most parts, that it is very, very enjoyable and it's a solid platform. Apple does so many tests and then they retest before they launch anything. So I'm with you on the iPhone thing. I definitely like it. The fact that BlackBerry was probably number one or even in contention is just crazy to me, because they have been, they've disappeared. BlackBerry is just, you don't hear about it much anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really weird.
But you're right. Yeah, the hardware will change and something new. every couple months. So it's basically preference, I guess.
I think so. In fact, I just, in preparation for our show, I did want to make sure I was up on some of the things. And the latest indicators are that Apple's going to come out with the iPhone 5S now in October. And right now on the iPhone 5, we've got a 8 megapixel camera, which is now, again, megapixels are not the end all. That's just one of the characteristics that can be important to capturing good photos.
Right.
But I mean, that's more megapixels than my wife had. She's got a digital SLR from Canon, one of the original EOS Rebels, that has the same number of megapixels, and it's in my phone now. So, but the new one's going to come out with a 13 megapixel camera, just an imaging device that's crafted by Sony. So they're continuing the move. In my mind, all this news tells me that Apple is incredibly serious about really pushing the envelope and attempting to be one of, if not the top choice for people that are serious about quality imaging on their smartphone.
Yeah, I agree with you. So do you consider yourself a professional photographer?
I do. And I think, what's interesting, you and I chatted about this in preparation for the program, and there are circles still where I see it in video as well. I spent a lot of time in the video producer community for years and still do as well. And there's a lot of purists over there. I was one probably 15 years ago who said, dagnammit, if that video camera doesn't sit on your shoulder, if it's not big enough to sit on your shoulder, you need a massive tripod, then you're not a professional and you can't be getting quality images. Well, you know what? Like you said, there are people now making videos on their iPhone and they're winning at major film festivals. Mm-hmm. So I think in the same regard in terms of photography with a smartphone, with an iPhone, a good portion of it is not only understanding the tools that you have, but an even bigger part is what's behind the lens. In other words, what's in your noggin, in your eyes, in terms of composition and framing, in terms of setting up the shot and understanding lighting. That is so important. That goes alongside with the tool. Now, right. That as I point out in the class too, iPhone definitely, and other smartphones, I think they have their place. They also have some very definite limitations in terms of, long lens ability to get, to really zoom in well. There are some aftermarket devices you can put on, and I've got a couple that I'm doing in an upcoming lesson, but I got this Allo Clip, which is nice, and it's got some nice features. Some people have, I've got on order a 12 times zoom lens and curious to try that out. But there's a big part of me, as much as I love it, there's another part of me that's saying, there's different devices that have specialties.
Absolutely.
And, I can't see myself hanging with a 500 millimeter lens off the back of my iPhone trying to capture, a shot that's, half a mile away. But you know what? Who imagined that we'd be taking so many beautiful photos with our iPhones now? So who knows what's around the corner? But so I long story short, I think there definitely are limitations. I think if you want professional, beautiful, quality portraits, things in low light situations, I'm going to lay my stake and say, personally, I don't think the iPhone is really going to deliver what you might or desire in and would better find in HDSLR, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you. There is definitely a tool for everything you need. You use the iPhone for this, use a regular camera for that. It all depends on what you're trying to do. There's never really been one multi-tool that does everything.
Right.
I find that in technology with computers, just like talking about Apples and PCs, Apples are great for photography and graphic design, things like that. And PCs are really great for networking and servers and things like that. So you just have to basically figure out what's going to work best for you in that situation.
That's right. Well, that being said, there's a lot of even full-time professionals who, all they do, they are, they hang their hat as a photographer. That's their portrait business, who carry around an iPhone and use it a good portion of the time as well. Like we said at the top of the program is, it's the phone, it's the camera that's always with you. So
right.
They are augmenting their other tools using the iPhone as part of their whole collection.
Right. Well, I tell you what, Chet, let's go to a commercial, and there's some questions I see in the chat. If you wouldn't mind addressing them when we get back.
Be happy.
Sound good? Okay. For those that don't know, that are listening for the first time, there's a chat window in the bottom right hand of the screen that on the Spreaker website. It looks like a little bubble. You can click on that and chat in there. In about, I'd say 5 minutes or so, we're going to open up the phone lines, take some phone calls. If that's all right, Chet. Sound good?
Sounds fantastic.
Okay. We'll go to a commercial, and we'll be right back with you.
Getting an amazing education is a must, but going to classes and listening to boring teachers can be very painful and expensive. Luckily, we have the internet, but it is so hard to find courses that are high quality, cheap, and easily accessible. Not anymore, thanks to Udemy. Udemy is the online academy for you. At Udemy, you can find hundreds of great courses from world-class instructors. You can learn stuff like how to create awesome demo videos cheaply, how to program in Python, Ruby, or HTML, how to start your own company, even how to wiggle your feet to the rhythm of salsa. But what if you want to teach others what you know? No problem. Udemy makes it super easy to create your own course in a few steps. Just create an account for free, give your course a name, upload all your content in any format, video, audio, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, publish it, and voila! It's now accessible to anyone, at any time, all over the world. You can even set a price for your course so you can make some money. Learn anything, teach anything at Udemy, the Academy of You.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that commercial. That was a Udemy commercial. For those that don't know, that's a fantastic website to go and learn. You can find courses like Chet's, the iPhone Photography Secrets, on there, and many, many more at udemy.com. There's a plug for Udemy. I hope they send me $10 for that. So I see a couple questions in the chat down here, and one's from Diane Darling, and she asked if you could discuss the best ways to organize photos on your iPhone. Many answers to that.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Diane. And that's a big challenge too, because depending on the model that you have, if you're not a heavy gamer, I mean, if you're a heavy gamer, some of the more substantial games on the iOS platform take up some serious, a space on the drive just because of the graphics. But if you're mostly, you got some utility apps and the standard apps, and you're doing a lot of iPhone photography, where am I not? Something like each image, like on the iPhone 5 with the good quality camera we have there, you're looking at about 2.3 megabytes per image. Okay. So you're thinking about 400 plus pictures for each gigabyte. So if you've got a 16 gig iPhone, you're talking about 6,500 images. So they are talking, like Diane said, wow. That's a serious amount of good quality photos.
Yeah.
And how do you organize them? I think the best way really is to create albums. Yeah. And I go through that in the course as well, but just in terms of an overview, the latest version, the iOS 6, which is the operating system for the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch series, allows us to not only have albums on our devices that we can very easily create, but you have the ability, they have what's called the photo stream. And the photo stream it's the whole cloud-based concept.
Right.
And once you enable it and set it up, Apple does give each person who has an iOS device a free, I think it's a 2 gig account. So you can have up to 2 gigs of content saved for you in the cloud. And it takes from your camera roll, which is through the regular photo app on your iOS device, and not only will save it to your device, but it automatically syncs and saves it up in the cloud, and it'll save the last 1,000 images that you've captured, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
But yeah, and what's nice is like you can even make a separate album on the iOS stream called Nephew. And I'm sorry, your nephew's name again was
Hunter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be called Hunter's First Month. And and you can send so that other relatives or close family members can subscribe to this, even if they don't have an iDevice, if they don't even have a Mac, if they're on a Windows, they can go to a website and view the photos as you automatically updated them, uploaded. So it's a neat way to. But I'm getting more into sharing than I diverge. But back to Diane's question, I would create albums on your iPhone that enable you to easily share and copy them. So, like if you want to show somebody your trip or something related to a business project, you can just open up that album and show them the photos there without, because if you got 1,000 or 500 or even 100 or 6,000 images, you're like, oh, let me show you this picture over here, and you're scanning. Oh, there it is, and then let me show you another one, and people are getting bored to death while you're going through your camera roll looking for. But if you put them in albums, you can show them full screen. You can show them in a slideshow right on the device with music that you select. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really nice. I've been kind of messing with the album settings and things like that, and I have separate ones for web design and logos and things like that. It just makes it a lot easier to find things.
Nice.
Like you said, that many pictures. Whew.
Oh yeah. Well, let me follow up with a common, what's the right word? I would say common issue or problem people have with albums, and that is they're like, well, wait a minute. It's I created an album and I put it over in my album X, but it's still in my camera roll. What's important to understand is the album is a way to organize photos that are in your camera roll. So it's like a filter. You're just showing those, but the camera roll will never move an image or a photo from the camera roll to an album. It's copying from the camera roll into an album. So it's still, you're not, and here's what I think can come out of that is, I will say it's younger people rather than older people, but perhaps that's ageism. Maybe you don't want certain people to see certain photos on your camera. Well, even if you move it into an album, it's still visible in the camera roll.
Oh, okay. So it is duplicating them. So does that take up twice as much space on your phone then?
Great question. It does not. It's what we call a pointer. So it's pointing to that original data. So it's making a copy, but it's just a copy to show, like an alias, rather than an actual full copy.
Oh, okay. So the PC people out there, it's like a shortcut, basically.
There you
go. Okay, that's good. Diane has another question too. She asked if she should create the albums on her iPhone or on iPhoto.
It depends. I do them right on my iPhone, but that's what you'd have to do is when you're in and launch it. What's curious is, and it's this is one of the odd things. It's very counterintuitive, I think, to the way that Apple tends to work. But you can see albums from when you go to the photo viewer from the camera itself, from the iPhone camera app, but you can't create albums if you access your camera roll from the camera app. You actually have to launch via the cameras, the photo button with it's a little sunflower is the icon for that. You have to actually launch that and open up the albums, and then you'll see a plus symbol in the upper left corner. That allows you to create additional albums there.
Okay, great. So I have another question here. We haven't talked about it yet, but what does your course cost?
The iPhone Photography Secrets course has what we call a list price of $39. So at $39, you have access to, right now, it's actually a little more than 8 hours of instruction.
Wow.
Broken down into 80 short video lessons. And the nice thing is, and it's the same with every Udemy course, your course on your computer, and that's the nice thing is people can come back 24/7 on holidays and weekends, and they have access to it forever. What's really cool is some other instructional platforms you pay for a month or a year, and
you got to get it done.
Yeah, but this one, somebody can come back after they go on vacation next summer and check out, how to use an app or how to do albums, what have you. So that's cool.
Right. And it's something like your course, it's great to have lifetime access because, like you said, it's constantly being updated, and there's more apps and more, ideas for the iPhone and things like that as far as photography goes. And when you're already subscribed to it, you don't have to pay again.
That's right.
You just update and add more lectures, and if I'm already a student, which I am, I will get those. I don't have to pay any extra money.
That is nice. That's a great benefit as a learner.
And the little chunks, I like them because I've noticed a lot on Udemy, there aren't many lectures that go over 10 minutes.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I used to watch a lot of YouTube tutorials and series, and, you know, they're 45 minutes to an hour each.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot of time because you don't want to stop in the middle of one of those tutorials. But as instructors, we kind of set it up so you can stop every
That's
10
right.
minutes and take a break and come back a month later if you want to.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's huge. I think
it's
the way
really nice.
and I think you mentioned YouTube. I think YouTube is shifting. YouTube is part of the what I would call the genesis that's shifting how people learn, and part of that is in shorter. As a professional educator, we call that just-in-time learning, or JIT. And just-in-time learning is like you're kind of humming along over here, and all of a sudden it's like, oh dang, I need to know how to do this over here.
Yeah.
And so you go access that information. Whether it's checking out a video on YouTube or looking up a notes maybe from Google or Wikipedia, or in this case you go into your Udemy course and you look up that next chunk of knowledge that you need. And so rather than, in the olden days, like when I was growing up, you went to a course and you were taught everything, and you open up the brain and you kind of pour it in, and now go on your way and be fruitful,
Right.
And you know what? Now it's that kind of give and take, and it's that whole which I'm seeing it more and more, because in my other hat with my subscription website, I've been doing hour-long lessons and webinars and stuff, and more people are hungry for, give it to me in 10-minute chunks kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What I'm going to do, we have about 4.5 minutes left. I'm going to just open the phone lines for a phone call or two if we can get any. The phone number to call is area code 510-455-GEEK, or it's 510-455-4335. And while we wait for a phone call, I want to discuss if you have any discounts for any of the listeners today.
I do. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, as I said. So what we've got for those joining us today, we've got a special 50% discount coupon. So instead of $39, it's $19 to enroll in the course. And again, that's not a limited time thing. It's a limited time for you to sign up. And I think I've got this good through next Friday, March 1st.
March 1st. That's a fantastic deal, guys. That is amazing for this course.
It is. And I'm biased, but I appreciate folks spending time out of their busy day to kind of hang out with us and learn something. So I thought
agree.
it's appropriate to reward them. So, and once you go to the course, which if you go to udemy.com, the name is iPhone Photography Secrets, and you'll see it'll say $39. Well, you can just enter the coupon code, and it will get you in at $19. It'll change and say you can do this for $19.
Perfect.
And let's see, Justin. I try to remember. I think it was.
I think you were going to do a 25% off after that expires.
Yes, and you know what? I'm trying to remember right now, and I've got it on another screen. Is the actual coupon code for the 50%? Was it?
Oh, that's a Geek Special. For everybody that's listening, after the show's over, there will be show notes on the website where the radio show is. I will have all the links, coupon codes, links to Chet's Facebook page and his website as well. So you don't have to memorize them, but I'll put the links on there, the direct links actually. You can just click on them and it'll put the code in for you.
Okay, so they don't even have to click on a code. They just click on the link and it'll all be priced. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. So if you're listening to this the program after March 1st, we're glad you came today.
Yeah.
Look at the secondary link. It'll give you a 25% discount. So it's $29 instead of $39, and that's the coupon Live Speak, I believe it is. So
it is. And for $39, this course, you guys, is incredible. I definitely recommend it. And $19, that's just insane. Honestly, that's that's like the price of a really nice app in the App Store.
That's right.
So, and you get, what'd you say, 8 hours of lectures?
Yeah, 8+
That's
hours.
incredible.
It is. And while folks are thinking about calling in, just to get a sample of some of the stuff that's available, if you're on Flickr, Flickr, which is one of the more popular kind of photo sharing websites, I have a photo stream you can access. It's flickr.com, and my username is Your Tech Tutor, YOURTECHTUTOR.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, everybody, it looks like we're actually out of time. Chet, I want to thank you again for stopping by. It's been a fantastic talk with you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, Justin. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing this with your community.
Yeah, and thank you again for stopping by. And everybody, make sure and check out the show notes after this. Head over and take Chet's course. It's fantastic. You will not regret it, I promise you. That is it for us today. Again, Chet, thank you for stopping by, and thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week at 2 p.m. Have a good one.